All right, let's talk about the U45 Fallen Banners update. We're going to start with there was a lot of base game updates. I'm sure people are going to talk about those. There were some really cool things with the starter zone visual updates. I thought those looked really great. I think that the changes to the map looked pretty cool. Additionally, we had things like the disguise is becoming collectibles, improved base mount speed, which doesn't affect anyone but new people, really. There might be a little bit of a boost at the top end for speed. The green champion stars, that's pretty cool. The fact that we're going to get a handful of those, which is like meticulous disassembly, plentiful harvest, treasure hunter, rationer, liquid efficiency, homemaker, professional upkeep, infamous, and cut purses art. These are all going to be now ones that you don't need to slot, so they'll be, if they have stages, it'll probably be at the highest stage. If they don't, it'll just be that value. That's pretty great. It gives us less choice for the craft skill CPs, which is great. That's what we want. Picking and choosing and having to use add-ons to swap them is really annoying. So that's a pretty good one. Then we've got the add-ons coming to a console at some point in the future. I don't think it's going to be in U45. I think they're just adding in the management so you start getting it ready, but that's only going to be for next-gen consoles, so none of the older consoles that are doing it will be able to use it, but at least the next-gens will. Then we had the 2 new homes. I'm sure people that are much more into housing will go over those and do tours and show you what you might want to do. Then we had the 2 new dungeons. They looked interesting, but the controversy is going to be you have to have ESO Plus for them. It wasn't said in the stream, but if you actually go read the article, it says, while the U45 base game patch is free for all ESO players, an ESO Plus membership is required to access and play the Fallen Banners Dungeon DLC. As mentioned above, if you wish to tackle these 2 new Alliance War themed dungeons, you'll need an active ESO Plus membership. The dungeon DLC will not be available for purchase for crowns at launch. So you have to have ESO Plus, otherwise you don't get to do the dungeons. So if you don't have ESO Plus, this is very light for an update. And so I'm sure that that's going to be a very big point of contention, especially when people are already talking about the fact that they think there's going to be less content, and now it's definitely going to feel like there's a lot less content. So I think that's going to be a big talking point, a big controversy. Then we've got the PvP test. So Vengeance, Alliance War, they're going to be doing it basically to try and reduce lag as much as possible in performance, increasing that while adding as many people to the server on each faction. So hopefully closer to launch numbers, which was 500. So you would have 1,500 people in Cyrodiil. There's going to be a single campaign for Cyrodiil during the test. It's going to be 1 week, end of March. We'll know more later. Essentially, as you can see, when you load in, you basically are going to see all your inventory and your gear change. You're going to be on a template, essentially. And what that means is that your gear is set at a certain level. There's no Mundus. You pick your weapons is pretty much it. And everything else, it doesn't matter. You can see like this one, they don't even have helmet and shoulders on. And then you've got Siege, which is just, you don't ever pack it up. You just keep putting Siege down. Camps, it's just unlimited. Same with, I think, potions and food. So it's just like this unlimited thing. I don't think we actually even get food in this one. Hopefully we get some potions or not. I mean, who knows? We'll see. So interestingly enough, it looks like we're getting pretty standard Siege across the board. There's quite a bit of gear that we don't see. So I think that we're definitely going to see all the kinds of Siege, all the weapons, and repair kits and all of that. The interesting thing to note is that there is pre-templated stats. So everyone's going to have the same stats, essentially. So we can see that that's like 30,000 magicka and stamina, 70,000 health. So that's much higher than anything else. But remember, we're changing up a lot of things. We don't have a lot of passives. We don't have a lot of any late damage reduction. So, and everything's gonna be a lot light. So I feel like that's probably to reduce the time, or to increase the time to kill, so that we're not dying instantly. Very likely that we're going to be feeling the pain even with that 70,000. If I recall, that's the same health that maybe some guards have, so maybe these are pulled straight from guards. We'll see. You can see magic recovery and stamina recovery are actually different, and this is what I find interesting. This makes me think that there might be some back-end passives, because we can see that anything that buffs should affect both of them, but that's not the case in this. So obviously there is something that's affecting one and not the other. Health recovery is pretty low. Spell damage, weapon damage, those are both at 5.1k, so that's quite a bit. Spell critical, 33%, so flat 33, 1/3. And then we've got spell resistance and physical resistance. Both of these are, 16,000. The cap is 32, so a lot of people oftentimes have much higher, and then with major resolve, you go above. And then we've got 1650 for critical resistance, so I think that that's a fairly good amount, and it should offset what crit chance and crit damage we do get from the template, which I'm guessing is the 33% crit chance and then the standard 50% damage. So that'll be pretty good. Unless there are ways for, like, say, Nightblades to get guaranteed crit chances, you probably don't have to worry too much about crit. Now, I think that this reminds me much of the release game Cyrodiil. And what I mean by that is you're not going to see ball groups running around being unkillable. I don't think anyone's going to be unkillable. I think if you have enough numbers on both sides, which we hopefully will, we'll have a huge amount of people doing the test. It's going to be fun. It's going to be brawly. It's going to be field fights. It's going to be bridge fights. It's going to be gate fights. I think taking a keep is going to be much more difficult than people realize. You're probably putting 2 to 3 holes in, trying to run through and get hit by a bunch of siege and oil without a lot of the buffs or the big AoE heals or the stacking, hots. You're going to get killed by siege and damage pretty quick. And especially if you think about, like, now there's 200 people in that keep holding it. You can't just run up in the tower. There's going to be like 20 people up there. You're going to die. Just like we used to see on in the campaigns way back, 8 years ago. And I think that, so you're going to have to put in multiple holes. When you try and go into like an inner part of a keep, you're going to have to open up the front door. You're going to have to open up the side posterns. I don't think it's going to be that easy to break into keeps. I think they're going to become very long, drawn out fights. Hundreds of people dying will be very normal. Especially now that we have tents, which we did not have back when it was this kind of play style. I think that we will probably see, for play styles, gankers will probably try and exist in some way. I wouldn't be surprised. It's probably going to be a group of them. That way they can actually leverage damage enough to hopefully kill someone. I think you're going to see massive zergs, people that don't have a whole lot of experience, but guess what? With enough people ape strong together, I mean, they're going to run anyone over. I don't care how experienced you are with these kind of stats and no sets or any of that. You're not going to be able to escape that death so easily. You can't build tanky, run around a tower for 5 hours, and then turn around and ult and kill a couple people. I think that you'll see coordinated PvP guilds, and they will be doing quite a bit of damage, but even they have to be careful because, again, I don't care how good you are with these kinds of stats, without any kind of extra things, without stacking hots or any of that. You run into a group of like 100 people, you're going to get rolled over. You're not going to have that same security that a lot of especially ball groups have, and I don't think ball groups are going to be able to exist in this kind of format. So I expect there to be a lot less lag, because ball groups are the source of a lot of lag. Whether they will admit it or not, you'll see them on the forums say they aren't, but they are. That's a fact. And some of them are going to come into the comments and say, no, we're not. And again, it is a fact. It is. Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting thing. I think people should do the test. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The skills that we get, it's, 15 class skills, 5 from each line, and an ult from each line. There's no morphs. There's one choice, it looks like. You get some that are going to be stamina, some that are going to be magicka, so you're going to have to kind of cobble together a build, and it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a lot of skill-based combat in the smaller skirmishes, but there'll definitely be bigger fights where pure numbers start to win. Strategic siege placement will be very important. So yeah, I think that the test is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it, actually. So I think that if you're on the edge, I would jump into the test when it comes in late March, and I would do it. Um, I think it's going to be worth your time. I think especially if you're newer to PvP, you don't normally do PvP, this will be the perfect time. It's going to be a place where a lot of people that don't know what they're doing necessarily can achieve a lot. So that's what we've got for U45. Like I said, the PvP part looks great. The dungeons are going to be controversy, guarantee it, because if you can't buy them and you have to have ESO Plus, that's not gonna go well. So, we'll see what happens on the PTS on Monday. I'm sure other people will be looking at the houses and the dungeons and all of that. And we're going to leave it like that. So, hopefully, we'll see you out in Cyrodiil and you guys enjoy.